All right, everybody. Here's a twofer. I'm not going to do two separate videos. I'll just knock it all out. One, I got two really amazing value watches for under $100 each, like a good bit under. And we'll go through the pricing and exactly what models they are. Update on my watch straps. I'll put the damn brand in here. It is a brand. Were these Archer? No, it's Anifit, Anefit. I've been using their straps. I like them because they're not shiny and slippery like seatbelt material. They're nice, they're ribbed, they're a little more fabric-y. And they just look nice, and they come in great colors. If you want to dress up your watch, these things are absolutely fantastic. They're like 15 bucks each. And you'll see, I like Kevin O'Leary's idea of the red straps, but I wouldn't limit it to that. This one had some blue accents on it, the Casio Duro, which is another one here. Looks fantastic in that. Same thing here for my Bertucci in titanium, the A2T, I believe it is, full titanium. I think looks tremendous. And I've got some in olive green and some other stuff on like my Veyer. This one in orange, perfect with the Pagani homage to the Explorer 2 from Rolex with that little bit of orange lettering and the orange. I mean, that's a great looking watch. And then on my Bulova, got the same Nato strap. I like Nato straps. They're very comfortable. You don't care if you get them wet, if they get, soaked with sweat after a while. You just take them off, put a little dish soap, wash them, clean them, let them dry, and throw them back on. Wear them in the shower, doesn't matter. Go swimming, doesn't matter. They're real comfortable, and it gives you 2 points of failure, have to fail before you lose your watch. You got to break both spring bars for you to have the watch fall off. You can break one and have it flopping and keep it. So anyway, give these guys a look. And we dressed these up. But I do like, and why I'm talking about this, is I do like bracelets a lot. I've got some nice bracelet watches, and I've added 2 more. Now, these are inexpensive. Both of these are well under $100. The Citizen that we're going to talk about first was the princely sum of $89.98. If you want it all blacked out with white lettering and stuff, we'll get into it. That'll be 99 bucks. But this is an 89, let's just say it's a $90 watch. So do a quick unboxing, go through. I've already sized the bracelets, so I'll go ahead and take this off so you can go ahead and see what it'll look like on the wrist. Love that Bulova. So comes in a nice little box. Normally it comes covered with the plastic cellophane stuff. I've already taken all that off, which I had to do to size it. I had to take off, it looks like 2 links on each side. So this is just a quartz silver, white background, 2-tone, got nice lume. It's just a very basic quartz watch. And I know some people are watch snobs and, well, I like the automatics and the mechanical nature. And that's fine and all. I've got some of those too. But when you have a large watch collection and you don't wear the same watch every day, you're constantly going, oh, why is that watch in the case 3 days behind and the date's off? And every time you go to wear it, first thing I got to do is wind it up. Then I got to go set the date, set the time, make sure you get the AM and PM correct and all that stuff. So I do like quartz. It's nice to just put it on and not worry about it. So this is a Citizen. It's $90. Comes with a really nice bracelet. I'm doing this in 4K so you can zoom in and kind of see the details. It's got a very plain, this dial does not turn, it's not a dive style watch, but it is a 43, I believe. I think it's 43. No, it says 42, but it's kind of big for a 42. I think it's because the bezel isn't big because it's not a big rotating bezel. So the actual display itself, the actual watch face, is physically a larger percentage of it. So normally when I get a 42 in a dive watch, it feels a little small reading the time. Here, because that is a thinner bezel, more of it is actually the watch face and hands. But it is basically 100-meter water resistance. It is a screw down back. The crown is not screw down, so it's 100-meter water resistance. I wouldn't go scuba diving, or I wouldn't go jet skiing where you might hit the water at speed. I think you could get some water in there. But if you're just taking a shower, washing and taking a bath, basic stuff like that, you're going to be fine with 100-meter water resistance with a quality name like Citizen. I got it because it's a nice dressy, but still kind of casual. It doesn't look that fancy on the wrist. I took the 2 links out. It has 1, 2, 3 micro adjust positions. So I've got it just, I mean, it's perfect. Moves a little bit, but it's not all rattly and slapping around on my wrist. You just kind of set it and forget it. I think it's a very beautiful watch. It's simple, it's clean, nothing wrong with it. And it's a name brand, so I'm like, oh, it's a Citizen. To me, it looks like a much more expensive watch. And that's what I like. You know, yeah, you can get less expensive when you go with, you know, a Pagani, or actually that was over $100 technically. But, you know, you go with the knockoffs or things like that, the Chinese, you know, watches. But, you know, if you're going to go with a Seiko or a Citizen or, you know, an actual legit name brand, it's really nice to get a watch that is less than $100 with tax and shipping right to your door. And that is a watch you would not be embarrassed to wear at the office or to a wedding or to go out to a nice dinner. I mean, you put that on your wrist, that's a really nice looking watch. And it's a quality name brand that people in the watch community respect without having to pay a ton of money. So kudos to them. I'll put a link to this one in there. It's the model B15051-51A. And if you want it in all black, then you pay an extra $10. I like the silver with the black accents and the white, kind of almost like a pearl. It's a pearl white. It's not a bright white, but I think that's absolutely gorgeous. Nice, simple clasp. It is stamped and not machined, but at that price point, what do you expect? Feels good, and these are solid links. So the little pin pusher to adjust it, these very easy to adjust, and like I said, you got your 3 micro adjusts. Very nice, clean watch. Like it a lot. Now, I've mentioned this one before, but I decided to go and get one. What is it? It's another Casio Duro. Now, I have this one, black with the blue accent on the blue brushed, and I think it looks absolutely gorgeous. That's a really good looking watch, and for a $50 watch, and then you throw a $15 strap, you got $65 invested, and you've got a 200-meter screw-down crown from a very reputable, respected Japanese watchmaker, Casio. It's got the little marlin. There's a little bit of a sunburst kind of effect on the dial when the sun hits it. But I wanted one with a bracelet, and they sell aftermarket bracelets, but they're nice from that place that sells online up in Long Island. But it's more than the watch. So I was like, well, let me try. Let me just go to Casio. Now I've already taken this one out. Remove some of the protective stuff, but I have not taken off the film on the front, which is why it looks a little milky. Doesn't use sapphire glass. It's their mineral, whatever, but it's good. And come on, get this stupid plastic off. There we go. That I don't know how Casio does this. So that's your Pepsi design. It's a dark blue on top, red on bottom. We'll do a lume check on both of these in a minute, but it's got a nice, really positive, nice click to it. I don't know how many clicks, doesn't really matter to me. It's nice and positive. It lines up right. I haven't set the time on this one. This one, like the other, is a screw down crown. It is also quartz, so you set it and forget it. So what's today, the 26th? So let's go ahead and change the date. Let's see, what is this one? There's a 24th, 25th. All right, so make sure we get our AM and PM correct. We'll go ahead and push this all the way around past midnight. It is 4:05 p.m., so that should cross midnight right there into the 26th. Great. Go past noon. Feel free to talk amongst yourselves. All right, so we have got 4:05. All right, cool. Screw the crown down. Nice, simple. We have, it is very well polished. I got a couple fingerprints on it already. Very well polished. They do a good job on this. So it's a black face that'll have a little bit of a sunburst effect in the orange, in the sun. You've got it is aluminum. It's not ceramic. There are concessions. It's screw down back. I mean, it's basically just a different version of that one. But what it does have is it has a pretty decent bracelet. Now, this one to adjust is a little bit different, although it's not hard. the links aren't solid. They're rolled links. And so that's the big difference. When you've got the Citizen, those are solid links with your standard push pins. So it has a little bit of weight to it. This has more weight in the watch because it is a 44 millimeter. It's nice, it's a dive watch, it's got a big chunky bezel. There's more mass here, but you can tell that the band is a lot lighter. Now some will go, well, it doesn't feel as premium. Okay, it isn't. It's a slightly cheaper watch. The price on this guy, and again, there will be links to everything. This one is the same price, I believe. Let's see, how much? No, $75.50. So $90, $76. So you save $14, but you get a bigger watch. It's a dive style, better water resistance, screw down crown. But it's a little less dressy, but it looks a lot like some of the Rolexes or whichever brand uses that Pepsi design. Again, uses stamped stainless steel bracelet, similar clasp. But this definitely has, I mean, it has a polished area in there. I think this definitely looks premium, more nice. But as far as a beater watch and a workhorse that still looks pretty damn good, I think I'd give it to the Duro. That one fits on my wrist just a little. I think it's a little bit more proportional. When you set these links, you don't use the tool. You use a little screwdriver. And basically, if you can see the line there, there's these pieces that pull out. There's some in here. These little hooks. There's a little place to put your screwdriver, and you push that piece out. And this piece is what slides into the end of that. So that comes out and you can remove your links and then you put it in and just tap it back in with a metal hammer. They take a little pressure to get out. So they're not going to come out on their own. But that is a Casio Duro Pepsi edition. And from a distance, like if you didn't know, I mean, that looks like it could be more like a Rolex or something like that. I don't know which one. But I have seen Rolexes online that have that kind of look. Not that you're trying to pass it off, but it's a nice looking watch. The point is you look at that and go, that's a good looking casual sport watch. Wear it in the pool, 200 meter water resistance. You can go diving with that, at least to a certain point. It does have a nice bracelet. It's a little bigger and bulkier than the Citizen, but it is a little cheaper. And when it comes to water resistance and probably durability, the Duro here is kind of legendary. You know, it's probably one of the most underrated watches on the market, and especially from this brand. It's a fantastic watch. There really is nothing wrong with it. And I think in this configuration, that definitely looks a bit more like the higher end watches, luxury watches that it's clearly been inspired by. That is a good looking watch. This one on the surface looks a little more dress, I think, because it has less colors and it's just, I don't know. That pearl white does look really nice. And I think the band definitely looks a little nicer. I think that this looks acceptable. It's not until closer inspection that you see that they're rolled links rather than solid. You know, so if you're holding it a couple feet away, I like the brushed, and it does have a little bit of polish because there are elements on here where it's brushed here and then polished on the side. So that theme kind of goes all throughout. But that is, I think, a really, really good. I mean, I love finding watches in that bargain range. You know, if you don't want to spend $400, but you don't want to go with a brand that you don't know, although Bertucci is a fine brand. And Pagani makes good stuff too, but that's clearly a knockoff. It's an homage to something else. If you don't want to do that, but you want that style watch, some people just don't have the money to spend thousands of dollars on a watch. If I can find a new one at a retailer, that's probably an $11,000, $12,000 watch with taxes. If I have to go off market and find it, you know, if they're hard to get, I might spend more than that. Or I got to buy one that's used, got a little wear and tear. Maybe I can get under 10. But finding, you know, watches like that, some people just are never going to spend that. And there's people that can't afford it, and they're like, I just don't want to spend that much money for a watch. Remember, the Casio Duro is a watch that Bill Gates has been seen wearing on more than one occasion. Now, I'm sure he's got some nice dress watches for certain occasions, but it looks like, you know, at least for a time, his beater watch was a Casio Duro. It was a $50 watch. And I think Bill's probably a practical guy. Forget his politics and stuff, but he's probably a practical guy. There's probably things he spends a ton of money on, and other things he's just like, $50 watch doesn't tell better time than an $80,000 Rolex. And he's right. So those are two, I think, fantastic options if you want to go with a bracelet design. Now, this bracelet design doesn't fold flat like that. So when you go to, it's you're gonna have to set it like that or set it on its side. I don't know if that matters to some people. As long as it bends enough to conform to the size of your wrist, that's all that really matters. But again, I think you'd have to look at it and go, the Citizen of the two has the nicer bracelet. It's just that little bit nicer from that Japanese company. But this is it's a really good watch. I see nothing wrong with this whatsoever. I do like it a lot with the NATO strap, but I don't know, something about the Pepsi color, I think because in your mind's eye, you're seeing the Rolex or the Tudor. You're seeing, or maybe even a couple Omegas have that, but Rolex definitely has the Pepsi, what they call the Pepsi coloring. And I think when you just see that on a nice strap, that just looks like a nice sport watch. So I see this one, even though this will be one of the cheapest watches, not that I have by any means a high-end, super expensive watch collection, but the majority of my watches, I think, fall in the couple hundred to $500 or $600 range, with the average probably being around 300-ish. And there's plenty of good watches and Seikos and things you can get. There's an Orient I'm looking at that's a Solar Panda, a 43.5 millimeter, I think it is, or 43 millimeter version of the Seiko Speed timer or something that's supposed to be phenomenal. And that's $320. So even though that's an Orient, that's a kind of expensive for Orient, that's going to make its way into my collection. But to have just a really good watch that you could just wear every day, and if you did break it, if you did lose it, you're out less than $100. I mean, imagine if you had a real Rolex and you smashed it, or you lost it, fell off while you're motorcycling, or you were swimming in the ocean with it and it came off and you couldn't find it. It's one thing if you're scuba and you can go down and look for it, but if you're just out in the ocean or on a boat or on the lake and you jump in and I don't know, you hit something and it pulled on the spring bar and it came off, it just threw $12,000 into the bottom of the lake. You ain't getting it back. And so that's where those watches, I think, are really good. And that's also because of losing them. I think that's where the NATO straps, make sense. But I don't want all my watches having NATO straps. Well, I do think that just looks absolutely tasty. You got to admit, that's a good looking watch. That Bulova lunar pilot with the NATO strap. But that looks good. If you want something a little dressy, between the two, it's going to be personal preference. How big of a wrist do you have? Do you want something that looks just that little bit more premium, just that little bit more dressed, just that little bit more classy? Or do you are you the kind of person that says, I'd rather have a little bigger, chunkier, more durable, more water resistant sport watch, little less classic, a little less classy or dress? Even though this is still a sports style, you can see this is more at one end of that spectrum than that. But they're both quartz. They're both going to hold great time. Change the battery every few years. They both have the date. It's in the same position. Those are two fantastic options. This is technically cheaper if you want to use the rubber band that it comes with. I upgraded it to that, so it's $65, which is only $10 less than this. But if you're looking for a nice sport brand name, again, quality brand name, not an Chinese company that's just borrowing other people's designs. Citizen and Casio. Duro, Pepsi color scheme, the red and blue with the bracelet, fantastic. And then I'd look at that Citizen. I think this was the best, this prior was my best under $100 watch that I think you could buy for a durable dive watch that, does 200 meters. But, and I said at the time, but I think upping it to the bracelet really makes it look that much more high end for not that much more money and still keeps it under 100. I think I gave that recommendation in a prior video. So I decided to take my own advice and go buy the damn thing. And there it is. But I got to say, this one is a little thinner. It is a little lighter and it does have the solid links. So Some people might prefer this. I recommend both of these. If you want this style of a watch and you want it to be a name brand and quality under $100, I don't know what other ones. There might be a Timex, maybe a Timex Expedition or something. But Timex is kind of funny. Their water resistant rating, it's like 3 atmospheres, 5 atmospheres. It's not much. You might, if you got rained on a little bit, you'd be okay, but I wouldn't take it in the shower or jump in the pool with it. Timex gets their water rating up, but most of them of this style, you got to be up over the $100 mark. If you want to have under 100 and have at least 100 and be able to get as much as 200 from a quality Japanese brand, there may be other options out there. I don't have them yet in my collection. So these are the two I'm going to recommend, at least for now, till something better comes across my desk. So there you have it. 2 and 1. I think we try to limit this to 20 minutes. We came in right about that, but normally I have one watch. We covered 2 and went over the NATO strap thing a bit. So I think we covered a lot of ground here. But you got questions, throw them in the comments. Hit like and subscribe. Tell me what you think. And if you've got other suggestions in this category, in this size range of 42 to 45 mil, under $100, at least 100 meter water resistance, that has a nice bracelet and looks pretty damn sharp, I'd love to hear it.